Today we'll be starting a new series on this channel where we'll be covering some of the most incredible battlers in the Pokemon Go PvP community and what makes them great. Our first showcase will be Thotechtical. I think I pronounced that correctly. A little bit of a difficult name. Anyways, most of you will know him as a beloved Twitch streamer, amazing YouTube content creator, one that loves Ludicolo.
Not stop the Sableye. Probably incoming Scrafty. It's fine, I'll farm it down.
Loves to fire blast other Pokemon.
It's gonna be close. Please! Please!
Pokemon. And as well, Malt's really hard because Inadequance always sneaks in the move and always denies his.
I thought he would be lower. But I think if I deny, I win. Fuck Inadequance, dude. Jesus! Oh my god, why always freaking denies?
He is an amazing streamer that is loved for his personality, but also for his battling. But before we break down his gameplay, let's talk about the man himself. Thotechtical, aka Thomas, is a 23-year-old Pokemon Go trainer from Rotterdam, Netherlands. His in-game name is the combination of his name, Thomas, the Tho part, and as well a mix of technical and tactical, two words that describe the way he approaches the game. Technical also refers to his background in mechanical engineering. He started playing Pokemon back at the age of 7, starting off in Diamond and Pearl. Played Pokemon virtually his whole life, took a small break, according to the Third Shield Pokemon Go podcast. But once Pokemon Go came out, he was instantly hooked, as you can see by the incredible number of Pokemon that he has caught. But when he really started to shine is when Pokemon Go PvP came out in late 2018 and started just absolutely killing it in tournaments starting in early 2019. So started his Silph career actually winning his first 4 tournaments. He probably felt pretty unstoppable at that point in time. I actually believe he only did one Boulder Cup tournament, swept that. It was like 4-0 or 5-0, then went on to win a bunch of Twilight Cup tournaments and actually end up tying first in his Season 1 regional with many amazing battlers. He actually ended up finishing the season first in the Netherlands, 9th globally with an 85.15 win rate, which is an absolutely insane amount. Like if you think about it in a show 6 pick 3 format, that is very unlikely to happen. And in Season 2, he had arguably a more impressive season where he actually won 88% of his matches, ranked number 1 in the Netherlands again. Actually end up sweeping his regionals instead of tying for it like he did it back in Season 1, and just barely missed the top 8 for the European Continentals, and was one of the only 5 players to reach Legend in Silph in Season 2, which is an absolutely phenomenal feat. So before he's even started doing any Go Battle League, he was an absolute beast when it comes to Silph Arena, and I was very confident to see his skills translate into Go Battle League. And as well, it's not we're gonna go through his different techniques, the strategies he deploys, but really for Thomas, for Tho, it's really about the hard work and time and dedication that he really put into it, as you can see based off the number of Great League wins he has to date. Now that we covered his history before GBL, let's talk about some of the things that actually make Tho really amazing, not only in the Silph Arena, but also in Go Battle League. First thing I want to start off with is actually his team building. So he shares a lot of his team building on his YouTube channel, which I will link down in the description. It's basically his IGN, youtube.com/his IGN. And he's built a lot of really amazing teams over the years. But I just want to go over a few of them and the brilliance of his team building skills. The first one is a kind of an older team, the one that he used to hit legend in. Let's see if we can get it here. The one that he used to hit legend in season 3, which is Azumarill, Marowak. Oh man, this is definitely an older, really old video here, because obviously it's with the old switching mechanics here. You can see the brilliance of this team is it's the Azumarill with play rough and double ghost, and the concept of the team is to draw out the zoom roll, be able to either take a shield or switch advantage with the Sableye, and then be able to close off with the Marowak that you drew out, presumably the hard ghost answer, whether that's a zoom roll or whether that's Umbreon, and you're gonna be able to beat it with the play rough at Azumarill. This is a very popular team, one of the most consistent teams to date in GBL. It worked in season 3. It probably works a little bit less in this upcoming season, just because of like Pokemon like Trevenant and whatnot, but still, and as well the dark poisons that got a buff, but it's still a very effective team, and certainly one of his best and most legendary teams that if you didn't battle it or you didn't use it, you definitely saw it in someone else's streams or in other people's battles. So the second team is much more meta team, which consists of Venusaur, G-Fist, and Sableye. Again, utilizing that Sableye as a safe switch. The Venusaur as lead because it does beat the Azumarill quite handily, and then as well G-Fist does handle Venusaur's biggest weakness, which are confusion users, and then as well the flyers. So it's able to beat Skarmory, it's able to beat the Altaria. So the objective here is really to try to win switch with the Sableye, which often it does, unless it's obviously going up against a Charmer or an Umbreon, or it takes a lot of shields, and then you're going to be able to close out with the Galarian Stunfisk. This is the concept of a really strong core, in this case, Venusaur and Stunfisk, with a really strong safe switch to help you dictate the pace of the match. So again, a very meta team. Obviously, the core is not too uncommon, and the combinations that you've seen before with Venusaur and G-Fist, and you've seen Pelipper variations and Mew variations, which I think Tho had covered in the past, but I think this is a really strong team that he used early on, that he identified and shared with the rest of the community so that they can leverage it and utilize it. And I actually was watching a stream today, and someone said that they went 5-0 with this particular team, even to this season. The next one is obviously the team that we're going to be talking about in the battles I'll be covering today, which is Trevenant, Skuntank, and Vigoroth. And again, Trevenant biggest weakness are the dark types, so like Umbreon and Vigoroth and Skuntank have both positive matchups against those. Even Mandibuzz would be a little bit tougher for the backline, especially if it's running Air Slash, but they're still able to handle it pretty effectively. And we're going to show off a few games and deep dive into them, where he's able to utilize that team really effectively, both in when he wins the lead and as well when he loses the lead. Especially when he loses the lead, that's absolutely amazing. And last two I want to share are how he goes about building his teams. So in this case, so he has two videos here that he recently released. One is around top teams for Master League Premier Classic, and the other one is for Kanto Cup. So you might see, for example, some top teams where they just show you the team. They say, "Oh, it's strong against this, it's strong against that." But here he really breaks down with PvPoke, and as well presents options on what the potential leads are and what the potential backlines are, and then as well centers it around typically one particular Pokemon. In this case, Haxorus. So he's looking to safe switch with this middle line, so that Haxorus can clean up in the back. So basically, drawing out the Charmer so that Magnezone, Excadrill, Metagross can come out with energy, and then you want to close out with Haxorus. I highly encourage you to watch these team building, these top team videos, and watch through how he goes about building his team, because you can definitely learn a lot through that process. And again, it's a very similar process. Again, this is not maybe not one of the most favorite lines, but it's certainly something where Tho is not afraid to show off what is a strong team. And you certainly saw this team a lot in the higher ranks, where you have an anti-fighter, whether it's Nidoqueen, Pidgeot, or Hypno, and you have two Pokemon in the back that are weak to fighting, and you have your safe switch, which in this case is Chansey, because Chansey can just be able to take a shield from virtually anything in the meta, unfortunately. So those are just examples of how, though, as an amazing battler, someone who's had a lot of experiences actually utilizes his really strong team building skills so he can get an edge on the competition before he even starts the battle. And in this next segment, we're actually going to break down 4 games, and I'm going to go through the key strategies, techniques that they'll use to be in order to be able to win those games. Game we're going to be showing off is actually against J Mills. Again, this is the team he's utilizing is Trevenant, Shadow Skunk Tank with Flamethrower and Vigoroth. A very strong team, and as well, all you do is watch his video and give it a shot. But I want to break down this game, and there's a couple key concepts that I want to share. One is anticipating the end game as soon as possible. I might turn on the audio, I might not for his video. Second is like knowing who wins CMP, so he can evaluate appropriately, and then identifying his win con as early as possible. We're gonna probably pause and rewind and go through these battles in depth. I'm not gonna pull up PvPo because this is a little bit more showcasing of the battles, and the matchups are relatively straightforward that he shows off here. So obviously this is an extremely bad lead. The Trevenant. Okay, so actually before we start, so Trevenant, it shows that it can beat, can potentially beat the Talonflame in the one shield if it lands the bait and whatnot. But that is one of those scenarios where it's like really unfavorable in terms of because it's extremely bait dependent. If they call the bait, or as well if they end up double shielding, then they end up farming down. Then you're in a lot of trouble, because then Talonflame with a lot of energy can be really tricky there. So though is not going to play around with the potential bait game and letting the Talonflame boost, just because he doesn't really have a hard answer or something that can absorb the Talonflame's flame charges or Brave Bird really effectively. So he's going to immediately swap and force the opponent to make a decision. So we're going to go ahead and go to the next thing here. So he obviously, I don't really need to show you the Sims of this one, but Diggersby as a ground and normal type absolutely destroys Skunk Tank. But he does get a little bit of energy lead here. And if you go and watch the VOD or watch his video, here he says he wants to take shields, right? He feels that Talonflame with no shields is weaker than his backline with no shields. He feels that Talonflame can get one-shotted basically by the Shadow Ball, so he's actually willing to play the one shield, knowing that his opponent is likely not going to bait, because honestly the bait is very risky in this scenario, because if you do bait and you end up failing to bait, then he'll be able to reach a crunch and get a shield advantage. So he actually decides to shield because he anticipates this to be an earthquake, because that is the most straightforward way to play this matchup. One fire punch definitely would not KO, so he's going to build up a little bit of energy here and then throw the crunch, and this will put the Diggersby into a pretty dangerous situation. It probably would probably wouldn't actually live it. Actually, this damage is actually adding up quite a bit, and he is actually willing to let it go at this point in time. And then instead of coming into Trevenant, as you normally would, he's actually going to go to Vigoroth and farm down, because he believes energy on Vigoroth is going to be more valuable. So we're going to see. He does get the extra counter, which honestly doesn't really make too big a difference, because the Munshots are not going to do very much damage. He knows, first off, he knows the counts. and he knows that this can only be a fire punch, so it doesn't need to shield, and it's very unlikely that we're going to make it to the earthquake. So he ends up farming down. So it's looking pretty good. And here comes the Vigoroth. The opposing Vigoroth can definitely survive this body slam. So don't anticipate them to shield first. And then he actually goes for the extra counter, knowing that the Vigoroth doesn't have a body slam yet, and he's actually anticipating them to no shield this body slam. So if you listen to the stream, what you'll see here, and actually maybe I can play the audio really quickly. Actually, I probably should put in my actually I'll just put in my headphones here so it doesn't echo. But you'll see here him knowing the CMP, which again is not like overly huge as rocket science. So he's anticipating if he does win CMP, he's actually going to go for the body slam, one pass, do five counters, which is the same as two incinerates, and then throw the body slam. But if we actually listen here, okay, actually it's going to be slightly before here. Maybe when he's throwing. Yeah, so he's, as you can see, he's already anticipating what his opponent is going to do, so that he can further identify what his potential wins cons are. So like knowing what your opponent is most likely going to do allows you to kind of like narrow down your particular options and how you want to play it. So there he identified that even though he said probably not, he actually knew for certain that he was not going to be able to win, that he was very unlikely to win CMP versus the Talonflame. So he actually ends up throwing at 4, which is basically 2 turns before the Talonflame makes it to the Flame Charge, and then obviously result in CMP. And then you'll see, actually maybe we can turn on the audio here. Yeah. So there he identifies his potential win con, which is actually to farm down and not throw the C bomb. Not though it's not it's not that it's that clear that throwing the seed bomb is would actually win the game. But there he anticipated what his potential win con was going to be, and then he feels comfortable staying hydrated, and he's going to be able to easily live these incinerates. And actually, actually, it doesn't really matter. They actually have 2 here, and but he knows that he's going to be able to live incinerate on the Vigoroth, and then comfortably farms down this Talonflame without too much worry there. So didn't want to give up a free move or any free turns. Knew that once he got that Shadow Claw through, that it was going to be a very straightforward win con. So as you can see, he ended up losing lead. He anticipated what his potential end game, which was to get shields down to put a little bit more pressure onto the Talonflame. In this case, they didn't end up shielding the body slam because they knew the Trevenant with a shield could make it to the Shadow Ball. As well, anticipated that his opponent wouldn't shield the body slam, and then knew the CMP count. So really nice and straightforward game in sense of for Tho, but there was a lot of mechanics and understanding different parts of the game that allowed him to win that game. He makes it look easy, but there's a lot that goes behind it. So we're gonna go ahead and go to actually the 4th game that he did on his stream. In this 4th game, there's a couple concepts that I want us to watch out for as we watch him battle. One is that he tries to anticipate and predict the team as early as possible, and then evaluate that based off what he thinks is in the back and how his backline is going to do. The next thing is that a really subtle thing is that he tries to take advantage of where he can take as little damage as possible and generate as much energy as possible. So farming to bank a move, because he's going to predict that it's going to be more useful later on, and then as well making some predictions later on in the match. And this is actually a really nice game to watch. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, this is not rocket science what he's doing, but these are like subtle things that he's incorporating into his gameplay that allows him to win matches. So here, if you see on stream, he talks about that. This is like obviously like a pretty like not not a bad matchup, pretty neutral matchup, but he anticipates Vigoroth to be really strong in the back. Yeah, he anticipates Vigoroth to be really strong in the back, and then he actually tries to. Okay, he ends up lagging here a little bit. So he actually goes and farms two seed bombs because he knows he's not taking very much damage with the counters, even though he's taking a poison fang, and he needs both seed bombs later on in the match, and then he switches out to Vigoroth. So again, he anticipated that his Vigoroth was going to be really strong in the back, which is why he wasn't pressured to shield or to immediately switch. So there you go, very nice. He's gonna let this go, and the reason why he lets this go is that and potentially they could Night Slash and get the boost. So it's better to shield later on. They actually end up throwing the cross shot, which actually puts him in a very tricky situation. He actually tries to CMP tie there, but the opponent went for the correct play in terms of trying to get the extra counter in because they knew they would lose the CMP tie. But so again, when you get to a really high level, your opponents are gonna look to anticipate your moves. So he's gonna throw the body slam, and he actually debates here on whether or not he wants a shield, and he actually does end up shielding. He mostly because he got the extra counter in, and he's just barely able to counter down. So as you can see there, he was evaluating whether or not it was worth it to win switch, or whether or not he should farm down with another Pokemon. In this case, he got the counter through, so he decided to that it was worth it to win switch. He's gonna immediately throw the body slam, mostly because he's at really low health. He's not. There's almost no chance he's gonna be able to get to the bulldoze, even if he wanted to. So he wanted to make sure he gets off this damage, and actually does a decent amount of damage to the Nidoqueen. And then if you listen to the stream, you'll see him. He'll talk about that. He predicts that it's gonna be an Umbreon in the back. And he says this is not a big deal. And then really subtle thing here, which I think a lot of people end up missing, is that he actually ends up shielding the first one just because he'll say that it's more likely that they're not going to bait on the first move, mainly because the bait is really risky, and so he actually ends up shielding the first move, which ends up being a last resort, which prevents the Umbreon from baiting with a foul play later on. And you'll see he ends up throwing at 4, which ends up being really good timing. Throwing in the middle of the snarl so he doesn't get an extra one through. And then he ends up shielding, and then he's going to be able to easily tank a last resort, and then and be able to easily win this game. So he's gonna be able to throw the flame thrower. He actually predicts correctly that this flamethrower does not KO the Umbreon. It ended up having like 1 HP. They actually end up switching out, and then he immediately switches, takes advantage of that seed bomb that he banked. Again, that seed bomb, the energy he banked against the Obstagoon ended up proving to be really valuable for him in the end, because it allowed him to throw the seed bomb that put the Umbreon low enough that the flamethrower eventually virtually KO'd it, and then he ended up getting able to throw that second seed bomb onto the Nidoqueen before it could take out the Skunk Tank. Throws the seed bomb and takes out the Nidoqueen, and then cleanly takes out the Umbreon. So really nice anticipation of what the potential team was, farming when it was advantageous, and then as well anticipating and predicting how the Umbreon was going to play, so he could optimize his gameplay. But really, banking the seed bomb was his key to victory. If he didn't get that, it's very unlikely he would be able to get to the seed bomb at a later point in time, because he would have had to farm either against Snarls which would do super effective damage, or Poison Jabs, which would do neutral damage, versus farming versus counters, which are double resisted. Obviously, there was a one-stage defense drop with the Poison Jabs, but it ended up being really advantageous and allowed him to win the game. So, really nice game. And we're actually gonna go to game number 6 that he showed off off this on the stream to cover that game. So my only note for this game is good timing. So I'm assuming he throws at really solid times in this particular matchup. Again, he makes like these games seem like so improbable, but again, it's just because he has really good understanding of game mechanics, uh, team compositions. Because he spends a lot of time building teams. Oh, he's actually going against Smash King. I didn't realize that who he's going up against. So Trevenant Mirror, obviously the Shadow Claws are doing. These are two players that they actually desync at the beginning, slightly in his favor. So the desync is still slightly in his favor. So he's actually able to land the seed bomb first because he's one turn, and it's going to be a CMP tie. It's like basically the equivalent of a desync CMP. I think he thought the desync was not in his favor initially, but actually it was. And then he's going to predict that his opponent's going to throw the seed bomb right away. So he actually just ends up catching it onto the Skunk Tang. So again, good timing, good understanding of his opponent's move. Obviously, that one's a little bit easier because it's a mirror match. And they're actually gonna. I'm not entirely sure what the opponent was gonna try to do there, because he ends up getting the farm down. So then here comes the Jephus, and he's going to be able to land this flamethrower, which obviously does quite a bit of damage. And he's gonna here at this point in time, he's saying that they're at 9, and they're gonna throw the rock slide. So he's anticipating the rock slide, not anticipating the earthquake, which is the correct move because the rock slide would KO because it is a shadow skunk tank, and then he's calculating that it's gonna be 4 more for the earthquake. So you can see. You can see that him like verbally talking about it, trying to draw out the game plan. He's gonna farm down with the Vigoroth, and they actually switch out, and he's gonna actually switch, and you can see him counting. He actually does one thing that I really like here is he actually throws the really subtly here. Which I think is really important. He does the one Shadow Claw, then throws a move. He doesn't throw the seed bomb right away. One throwing in the middle move means that they're not able to sneak a full move in. He does give up one turn because he's throwing a 2-turn move versus a 3-turn move. But he does give up one turn, but he gets a charge move off without having to worry that they get a full bubble through. So he throws the seed bomb, and as well, it throws off your opponent's potential counts. So they might think that he threw right away, and that he doesn't have a move. Obviously, Smash King knows that he has a move, and Smash King actually throws at a really nice time, which is basically like one Shadow Call before they get to the seed bomb. And he's gonna let this go, and he's gonna throw the one counter again. One counter, then throw the move. Instead of like potentially trying to like fast move deny, he's gonna throw in the middle of the move, so that way he has consistency in how he's gonna play out this match. And then he's gonna build up. He's gonna again throw in the middle of the move, and now he's 3 away from the move. And normally he even says on stream, normally he doesn't like to throw on alignment just because of fast moving consistencies. But he figured that if they tried to catch, then he would be in a really good situation anyways, just because the earthquake does more damage than the play rough that he's anticipating that this Azumarill has. And that takes out the Azumarill, and then he's going to be able to easily counter down this Vigoroth, and Smash King realized that it's over in this match just because the Vigoroth can shield, and even if they bait with the Rock Slide and they get to another Rock Slide, that wouldn't KO the Vigoroth. So really, just a bunch of really small things. One, catching the move, like switching at good time. Uh, Two, doing the extra shadow claw, then throwing the C bomb, forced Smash King to throw the bubble, or like throw the ice beam instead of like potentially gathering up a little bit more energy. Doing the one counter, then throwing the body slam, then building up again, throwing the body slam, and then throwing on the alignment only when it was advantageous for him. In this case, it was advantageous for him if they decide to catch, or if they don't catch and the Azumarill gets KO'd. So really small things that he does that allows him to really execute his game plan really effectively. This last match, I'm going to show off. And again, I'm only showing off like 4 specific games that I thought were really interesting. Let me know if you want me to cover like 25 of his battles, or like an entire thing, and go in really detail with PV poke and analysis and whatnot. Really detail. I just wanted to highlight a couple games and some of the concepts that I want to take away. And this one, I just want to talk about the absolutely beautiful play he did at the end in order to win. It's a very subtle play, but it allowed him to ultimately win the game. Is real. You might have missed it if you're watching on stream, but it's like this is like really knowing game mechanics. So obviously, terrible lead. Mandibuzz is really tough for this team. So it doesn't look like the opponent has a really strong. So you can see here, he goes 7 and then throws. Because he doesn't want an extra air slash in. As well, he wants to be able to throw the body slam, knowing that the opponent can't switch out. So he throws the body slam at 7. Now the opponent did 5 air slash, which is 7.5 seconds. And when they throw that, he actually gets the counter through, because there was like that 0.5, there was that 0.5 second or 1 turn window where he could get a move off. That's not always consistent, but that actually allows him to actually be ahead in this matchup from a turns perspective, because now he's done like 8.5 turns versus, or 8.5 seconds, versus the opponent is at 7.5 seconds worth of energy. So he throws on, I believe, on CMP. Throws on CMP, and here he's evaluating his options. He actually decides not to shield this because he was worried that it was going to be a leaf tornado, and then if it was leaf tornado, then he would just end up getting farmed down, which would be a lot of trouble. Just because even though Trevenant is a grass type and would resist the Frenzy Plant, they actually still do a lot of damage. He actually gets extra Shadow Claw here, and he knows the counts. He knows that this is gonna be a Frenzy or an Air Release, and he knows he needs KO in 5, and he's counting 3, 4, and he actually ends up KOing them with the Shadow Claws alone. So that's very nice farm down. And even in this situation, where he has a lot of energy, he actually chooses to throw the Shadow Claw. This is slightly debatable here, but he just didn't want to give any free turns, because I think he ends up going from like what is it, like 96 energy to 100. So doesn't really get the full amount of energy, but he just didn't want to give up a free air slash. He wants to throw in the middle of the move, and throws a Shadow Ball, and then he's going to switch. And then you can see this is a really bad situation with Empoleon in the back, and maybe not the best timing there, but it's very tough to do the timing when they're switching in, just because like the you're not starting at 0, you're both starting at 0 at different times, and he does very fortunate to get the defense drop, and the opponent. And because they got the extra waterfall through, the opponent just countered really well there and threw right before the crunch. He decides to shield just because he feels that his win con is to, and he didn't throw the extra poison jab there, mostly because he wasn't sure he could survive the waterfall, and getting off this crunch is the most important thing, because poison jab damage doesn't really do much to the Empoleon. So they actually do end up shielding, which is very good for him. And you're gonna see he gets an extra Shadow Claw through, which is actually really huge because this Empoleon is actually one stage defense dropped, and he's evaluating his options here on how much he wants to farm before he throws, and then the Mandibuzz decides to it switches in. He's gonna throw the Shadow Ball, and this game's all about the ending. It's all about the ending. So he actually ends up living. He actually thinks he's gonna lose this match. So this is a really beautiful play here. So he has enough health to survive one waterfall. He knows that, right? But he doesn't have enough health to survive one uh two waterfalls. So what he's going to do here, instead of throwing one Shadow Claw and then throwing the Seed Bomb and then getting KO'd subsequently afterwards, he actually throws two Shadow Claws and then the move. The move takes one turn, right? So let me break this down. So each waterfall is 3 turns, right? And what he's or 3 turns, right? So he knows he can live one, right? So he's gonna throw they're gonna throw two waterfalls, which are 6 turns in total. He's gonna throw two Shadow Claws, which are 4 turns in total. And as long as he doesn't initiate the move on the 5th turn, which would leak into the 6th turn and he would get KO'd, he's gonna throw on the 4th turn, and then he's gonna be able to get that Shadow Claw in, and then throw the Seed Bomb and take out the Empoleon, or at least get as much damage and be able to take out the Empoleon. So you're gonna see he throws two there. So let me just. This is actually like a really beautiful move at the end. It's we can obviously, like, we know about timing, throwing the middle move, throw at 7, throw at 4, throw at 1 when you're a 2 turn versus a 3 turn, or throw at whatever time. But when you're at the end game, the rules are a little bit different. When you can potentially KO the opponent, or you're gonna get KO'd. So he does two Shadow Claws, 1 and 2. So that way he guarantees to be able to get the move off, and to be able to KO and maximize his chances. Obviously, he could have, and just a really subtle play there, and be able to take advantage of the turn mechanics. Obviously, he could have also done one Shadow Claw through the Seed Bomb, and then get in the move before the second waterfall would register. But obviously, with lag and whatnot, that could be a little bit more difficult there. But really, that game was like about timing, about the correct gameplay on, and as well evaluating his options. So those are the battles I want to cover for Tho, that I actually saw that I covered that while rewatching his latest stream. But let me know if you want me to cover more battles of his, like maybe a full 25 sets, or if there's other battlers that you want me to cover. Let me know down in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about Tho as a battler. What else you want me to cover? What I missed, and then we'll go from there. But again, if you want me to continue the series, give this video a thumbs up, comment below. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like to see it, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see everyone in the next video.